guys, welcome to cookie class. My name is Denise and I can't wait to teach you how to decorate cookies. So in your kit that you have, you're going to find all the things you see in front of me except for two of these items. I'd like you to find some toothpicks to use, and I'd like you to find a pair of scissors. And if your parents are around, it would be great if they could help you trim the bags, just to be sure you don't trim off too much. So we have a few different cookies we're gonna do today. We're gonna do some Easter eggs. We are going to do some bunnies. We're gonna do some peep bunnies. How many of you like peeps? I'm not such a fan of peep, like regular peeps, just these peeps. And then carrots. All right, so first things first, we're gonna practice and talk about how to use a piping bag. So let's get the practice sheet handy, and we're gonna use our scissors to trim off just a little bit of the bag. It's always easier to trim more than to trim too much and then have a real big steady stream coming out of your piping bag. So when you hold the bag, I want you to use the hand on the top of the bag that you write with. So I'm right-handed. So I'm going to squeeze at the top of the bag with my right hand and use my left finger to guide the line of icing along. I'm squeezing gently with my right hand and dragging the icing along. Now, on this next line, let me tell you how I stop the icing. I press down and pull up. It takes a little practice to get used to stopping the icing stream. So press down and pull up. It's just one quick motion. Go through all of the practice sheet lines and try to get a feel for how the icing behaves and how you can cover up the lines here. It takes some practice. I've done this for a while, so don't feel bad if your lines aren't straight at first. You're going to improve as you go. I know it. Here are some lines that are a little bit different. See if you can follow along. Notice I'm not touching the tip of my piping bag to the surface. I'm hovering above the paper just a little bit, and I'm just dragging the icing behind me. All right, we're gonna go through all of this to get a good feel for how the icing flows. Circles are one of the hardest shapes to do, so this one might be a little tricky for you. Don't feel bad if it is. That's why we're practicing. All right, two more shapes. Hearts. There we go. How'd you do? Did you cover up those lines? All right, we can set this aside. We are done. This was just for practice. All right, so the first step is piping the outline. So we break cookie decorating into 3 steps here. We do outlining as the first step, flooding as the second step, and detailing as the third step. So first step, outlining. So I've trimmed all the bags. I can see this one I didn't trim quite as much because I am always careful to do just a little bit. I can always trim more. If you do happen to trim too much off and you're not happy with how thick the line is, we've given you extra piping bags in your kit so you can rebag the icing. And I'll show you how to do that a little later. So I'm going to get started. I have a little piece of the piping bag on my cookie here, so I'm gonna move that aside. I don't wanna eat that. So I'm gonna outline my bunny in white, and I'm just gonna follow the shape of the cookie. Try and go as close to the edge of the cookie without going over. If you do happen to go over the edge of the cookie, you can use a toothpick and just scrape off the icing and start again. You want to try and be as satisfied with your outlining as you possibly can. This sets the foundation for the rest of your cookie. So take your time with the outlining. It is not a race. There's little cheeks on this bunny, so just follow along those curvy areas. It'll make more sense a little bit later. There we go. Now, one more feature I'm going to add to the bunny is the inside of his ear. So I'm going to give him a little pink area right inside here. You can make it any shape. I kind of think it looks a little bit like a teardrop, I'd say. But I'm going to just make that little area inside of each of his ears, or her ears. I'm going to be making that inner area of his ear pink. So I'm saving that area for the pink color. All right, moving on. Let's move to carrots. So I'm going to leave the top portion of the carrots for the greenery portion and do the bottom of the carrot in orange. You can do these in any colors you'd like. Feel free to be creative. I'm just going to do the traditional way, but there are no rules with cookie decorating. It's really fun to just play and see where your creativity takes you. There we go. And then I'm going to use that green to do the top portion. I'm just planning ahead, planning my colored areas. All right. So the next step, something I like to do when I decorate cookies is bring the cookies closer to me. If I reach up here and try to outline, I'm not going to do my best work. So there's no race. You don't have to hurry through. Have your cookies they are going to work on closest to you. And I often use a toothpick to help me slide it around. That way I don't smudge the edge of the icing that's still super wet. I don't smudge it with my finger. All right, so the eggs, we can really have fun with this and turn them into any color we want. So why don't we do one of each? I'm gonna do a pink egg. I will do a white egg. And how about I do a green egg? We haven't used a lot of green yet. There we go. And the peep bunnies, I'm gonna give them different colors also. Oops, I almost started with that color. So here, I'm gonna just scrape off this icing with my toothpick. Little cheeks. And one more. I'm gonna do one orange. I'm gonna make these all colorful. I've used a lot of white on the cookies. I like it when my cookies have a lot of color to them. So I noticed I did the bunnies in white and one of the eggs in white. I just want it to be a real colorful, cheerful set. So step one is done. We just outlined. So here we go. We're gonna do some flooding. I'm gonna trim my bags just a little bit more to help me with flooding. And I'm not trimming too much. I'm not going out of control here. I'm just trimming it just a bit so that the icing will come out a little bit faster as I start to flood the cookies. All right. So I'm gonna I moved the cookies around. I got the first set of cookies closer to me again because I'm gonna start with the ones that have dried the most. So I'm going to start flooding in those bunnies. I'm gonna leave that pink area alone, and I'm gonna do the white portion first. I kind of go along the outline first, and then I fill in the middle. Everybody floods cookies differently, but that's what I tend to do. So figure out your own system. You don't want to be shy. Put on a lot of icing and cover up that cookie. You don't want to see any cookie peeking through. So I'm using the tip of my bag to push the icing to the edge. If you feel like that's tricky to do, you can also pick up a toothpick. You have more control with the toothpick. So either way is okay. Use the method that feels most comfortable for you and cover up all those little edges. There are tiny little areas that don't have icing on them. Cover those right up. Sometimes I need to look around my cookie and make sure I've done all the areas. And since I have white in my hand, I'm just gonna keep going and come back to the pink ear area. I'm putting it on real thick. And after I stop flooding, it starts to settle and it starts to dry real smooth. Okay, so I put a lot of icing on. I'm gonna use my toothpick to just push it right up to the edge. This is my favorite part of cookie decorating. I think flooding is so fun. Okay. Oops, I see one little cookie area. There we go. One more bunny. So let's say you put on too much icing. You know what will happen? It will start to drip over the side of your cookie. Not a problem if that happens. Honestly, it happens to us. And what we do is we just kind of let it dry a little bit and then we wipe it off with the toothpick. If you want to have nice clean edges, you just should wait a little bit and then you can scrape it right off with the toothpick. That's if the icing overflows off the side of the cookie. It's just gonna taste really good regardless of whether it drips over or not. So don't worry if that happens to you. Happens to us a lot. All right, so I've done the white. I'm gonna go back to those middle areas and just put some pink in. Those areas are small that I made, so I'm being careful not to put too much. Got the ears in there. Gonna let that settle down. Next, carrots. Gonna fill in each of my sections. There we go. I'm gonna do my carrots 3 different ways for you. I'm gonna show you 3 different techniques on the carrots. You can see which one you like and you can try something new. So I'm going to show you something on this carrot called marbling. I think this looks really fun on cookies, especially in this set. This can look cute on a carrot. It would be fun on an Easter egg. It would be fun on a peat bunny. Once you see this, you just might want to do it to a lot of cookies. It's so fun. So I flood the cookie and then I take a different color. I think I'm gonna choose white. I'm gonna wipe the edge off with my napkin. That way it's not too goopy. I'm gonna make a few lines. And with my toothpick, I'm going to blend this icing together. I'm gonna drag my toothpick down and move over a bit and drag it up. And drag it down and then drag it up. So it gives it this fun background just by blending the colors together. You have to do this while the icing is wet. I couldn't go back to these bunnies and try marbling because the icing has already started to dry and crust over a little bit. So you have to do this technique while it's wet if you want to try marbling. Here is another way that you can marble, and it's by sinking polka dots down into the background of your cookie. Here's how that works. So I'm still flooding the cookie, smoothing out the icing to the edges, and then I'm gonna use white again, and I'm gonna make some polka dots. Press down and pull up to make polka dots. Press down and pull up. Real quick motion. Okay, there's some polka dots. And what I like about this is it just blends right into the background. I'm gonna fix that one. It sinks down into the background and it's gonna dry as one solid surface. Cute. And on this carrot, I'm just gonna do this plain orange because I wanna show you some detailing on this one that looks really good when you just flood it a solid color. So I'm gonna go 3 different ways with these. You can see which one you like best. Awesome. Next, remember how I like to have cookies closest to me while I work? That's what I'm gonna do. That way I don't get my sleeve in the way. I can have more control when it's closer to me. And you don't want to rush this. I never want fun things to be over, so I don't want it to go too fast. There we go. Alrighty, Easter egg cookies. So, if you notice, there are sprinkles in your kit. So we can use sprinkles on any cookies that we would like. I'm going to add some sprinkles to one of my Easter eggs. And I'm gonna marble one of my Easter eggs, I think. And then I'm gonna do one Easter egg plain so I can detail it in the end. I'm gonna give you some options so you can see which way you wanna go. Or you can try all the methods too. So I'm gonna smooth this out, push it right up to the edge of the cookie. I put a lot of icing on here. Right. So I put on my icing. If you would like to add sprinkles, add the sprinkles while the cookie is wet. So this is just one simple way you can try decorating a cookie. All right, there we go. Cute and springy. And then for this next cookie, how about we try some marbling on this one? So remember, marbling is when you take 2 colors and blend them together while the icing is wet. I think I'm gonna do more than 2 colors on this one though. I wanna add all the colors. So I put on some icing. I'm gonna use a toothpick to push it right up to the edge. All right, I'm gonna take my colors and I'm gonna make some lines. I'm gonna make 3 lines of each of these colors. I'm gonna do orange. I'm gonna do a pink line just below. And I'm gonna do green. Now that looks pretty cool. You could just leave it like that and that looks really fun. Kind of tempted to leave it alone, but I really want to show you marbling again. But that looks fun. It's so hard for me to not play with my cookies. This time I think I'm just going to drag the lines down and see how I like that. This gives it a little different pattern. If you notice, there's just a little loop between each of the drag marks. You can really explore marbling, try out some fun patterns. And I put so much icing on, I see it starting to drip a little bit here. I'm just gonna let it be. It's easier to fix it later if I wanna fix it than to mess with it right now. All right, and on the green egg, I'm just going to marble. I'm not going to marble it, I'm not gonna add sprinkles. I'm going to do this one just a solid color and then show you how detailing after this dries can look really fun. The thing I'd love for you to notice about cookie decorating is that there's just so many things you can do. When I teach classes here, I'm always amazed at all of the different ways people decorate cookies. It's so fun when everybody just uses their own ideas and just goes off, figures out their style. But if you like to just follow along and do it how I'm doing it, that's great too. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that guy alone. Let that one dry. I'm gonna move on to the peep bunny. On the peep bunnies, I am planning to use some sprinkles for their tails at the very end. So that is how I'm thinking of doing all of these bunnies. I'm thinking of just decorating their tail after this flooded portion dries. But I think on one of these bunnies, I would like to show you another style. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the green one like that. This pink one here, you know, sometimes people flood the cookie a different color than they outline it. So how about we try that? I'm going to show you how that looks. You don't have to flood it the same color. So many ways you can do it. I think when I flood a cookie a different color as the outline, I have to be more careful when I spread it out because I don't want to go too far over the outline. So I'm using a toothpick so I have better control. All right, so that's one way to do it. I'm going to let that be. And with this last one, I'm going to flood it. This is so relaxing. Do you guys feel like this is relaxing to you? This is so relaxing to me. I know I said I was going to do these all plain, but I'm having a second thought. I think I'm going to try some marbling on this one and do it in a different direction. I did my lines going horizontally. That means across on the other ones. How about we do the lines going up and down? Let's see how that looks. That way, you can decide which way you like it better. I'll be the guinea pig. There we go. Now, you have to do it while it's wet, don't forget. I'm gonna drag The line's going across, back and forth. I start at the top and I work my way down. I'm going really gently so I don't cause a wave and make all this icing float off the edge. There we go. So there's a little something. All right, flooding is complete. So while I let these dry, they're all really glossy right now and really wet. And before I can detail them and do that final step, I want them to dry because the detail work, it will just sink in and kind of get blurry if I do it while it's wet. So while I wait, I like to rebag some of my colors. Any of the colors that you'd like to have a smaller tip on, you can do that by trimming off a little bit more of the bag. So there's a nice big opening. Probably don't do it over your cookies the way I'm doing it. I should move over here, but then I wouldn't be on the camera. So put the bag inside the other piping bag, the empty one, and just kind of squeeze out the icing. And then you can have someone help tie it for you in a knot. That's what I'm gonna do. Or you can use a twisty tie or a rubber band at the top. But you wanna close it up, that way it doesn't come out while you're working. All right, so I've rebagged it. I rebagged some of my other colors too, so that I can use those once these cookies are all dry. Okay, so final step. Are you ready for it? We're going to detail. I moved the cookies back close to me so I can work on them. I see on this one cookie it's dripping a little bit, so when it's nice and dry, here's what you do. I take a toothpick and I'm just trimming off all of the spillover. And it comes off so much easier now because it's had time to dry. All right, so there's that. It was like a little surgery. Bunnies. So black, I trim the black nice and small. I squeeze the icing down to the tip. And here is the bunny detail. So I'm gonna put the little eyes, really little, cute little bunny eyes together. And you know, I'm gonna do a little, let's do all the eyes first. And because bunnies are all unique and all different, let's do 3 different size eyes. And then you can decide, do you like big eyes? Do you like small eyes? All right. Next, I'm gonna do a little nose. I like to do the nose in pink. And to do that, I make a heart. So I try to do, it's kind of like a V. The best way to do a heart is a V. And then I just kind of add a little bit more, play with it until it looks between a heart and a V. If that even makes sense. All right, so those are some noses done in pink. Use any color you like. And then let's play around with 3 different little ways of doing the mouth. So on this one, I'm gonna give it just a tiny little smile. On this one, I'm going to do like one of those faces. I don't know what you call that, but I do that a lot on animals, cats and bunnies. And on this one, we're gonna give it like a smirky smile by being off to the side. And then we can also add some whiskers if you're feeling up for it. There we go. There's 3 different bunnies. And let's give them some little cheeks. So here's what I do. I like to take some white and just put some little, I don't know if I like that. I feel like I used to do that on my bunnies, but not on a little face. I'm gonna leave those 2 alone. So sometimes it's fun to play with the new technique and then decide if you like it or not. And then you can eat that one first if it's not your favorite. All right, bunnies, peep bunnies, I should say. So on this one, I think what I'm gonna do on here is I'm going to add a little green tail, and then on top of that wet icing, I'm gonna add some sprinkles. So it's only going to stick to that part of the bunny because that's the wet part. And after this dries a little bit, I'm gonna shake off the bunny and get those extra sprinkles to fall off. So this is like the back side of the bunny. That's his booty. Okay, on this one, here are little eyes. Peep bunnies just have these 2 little dots, and that's it. The real peeps, if you get the sugary kind. Marshmallows. And on this one, let's play around. Let's outline it in a different color. See what we think. There, and I'm gonna add a tail to this one too with sprinkles. I like a lot of patterns. I like a lot of things going on because I don't want to stop. It's so fun to just play and explore. So I'm gonna let these extras just fall off because if I shake it now, it's gonna get stuck to the outline. So I'm gonna just leave it be. All right, so there are those. Now, I'm done with this sprinkle egg. I think I'm done with this one. I'm gonna shuffle around the cookies that I would like to do more to. I'm gonna do my carrots and that Easter egg. Okay, here we go. Easter egg. This, I would say, is probably my favorite type of egg to decorate when it's a plain colored background because I like adding detail at the end. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a few different style of lines. I'm gonna add some in pink, just straight up, little bit curvy lines. I'm going to do some little swirlies, just like on the practice sheet. You did these little swirly marks, roller coasters. Loop, loop. And then, why don't we use white? I'm going to use white for the middle. And I am going to do some polka dots in the middle. I'm going to try to space them evenly. What do you think? And I want to show you this too. Sometimes using the same color on top of the same color has a really fun effect too. So I'm going to do this little squiggle at the top. And I'm going to leave the bottom alone. I don't have a lot of room down there. Now that same squiggle effect, I'm gonna carry over onto my carrots. That's how I like to do the top of my carrots. Just a swoopy up and down. I think it looks so neat doing the same color on top of the same color. You wouldn't think it would turn out so nice, but it's simple, but it adds some good dimension. Now on these carrots here, I could just leave them alone like that, or I could add this to the top. So I do this little line going down on my carrots. I don't know why, but I saw it once somewhere and I thought it looked really fun. So I'm even gonna add it on top of all of this. I get a lot of my ideas from other cookie people that I like to follow on Instagram. So if you look for ideas and you like to follow other bakers, you can get some fun ideas. All right, guys, I think that's it. Now you can share them with friends and family, or you can just eat them. I had fun with you. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again.